Hey, here we go. We got that. Great. We're good to go. Got it. Admit. All right. Hello, Nancy.
Let me get the video started.
No problem.
There. Let me close my
How
door.
are we doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing really well.
Good, good. New year.
Yes, it's a wonderful new year.
Well, I'm waiting for the market to behave, but it's like waiting for Godot.
Well, it never does what everybody thinks it should, so and nobody reacts the way you want them to. So it's the way it rolls.
Is that okay? Good.
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine. You're fine. You're not fuzzy or anything like that. You're good. This is a very big topic with our listeners. 86% of our listeners are female between the ages of 45 and 65.
Oh,
So
nice.
empowering women to take control of their financial future is just the alley. So all I'm really going to do is I'm going to introduce the show, introduce you, talk about what I'm going to talk about, which is basically a holiday debt hangover. And then we're going to give you a little background on you, and we're going to start talking right about what our viewers really wanted to hear about. The big things were, some of the topics you already had listed, which is the rules for investing. What's that? Money advice for 20 somethings, hey, you're 10 years away from retirement. The big thing here is 95% of women set to become primary financial decision makers. What's the key insights? That is a big thing because of, well, most women outlive men. So you know what? I thought it was 3 out of 4 women would, pass away single as opposed to married. So, but obviously the numbers are getting higher. So that is really, really big, and it's concerning for a lot of people. So I'd like to end with that topic if we have time. We record this without any commercials. They all get added later. I just give notes to our, I have a couple of things I have to read about syndicators and things like that, but we just go 10 minutes, stop for 10 seconds so I can reset the clock, so to speak, and then that's pretty much it. Is there a website, phone number, or do you just want to promote your book?
No, we have a website that connects. I mean, you can order the book. There's a button that takes you to Amazon. But importantly, we're also launching Women of Wealth initiative. And so I'll give them our main. I'll give you. It's obviously LafferTengler.com. That's it.
Okay. I'm going to let you say that.
Okay.
And then what we'll do is we'll add it in our website for your episode so people can go take a look. If somebody could send me a link for your book, I'll make sure that gets added in there as well. And let's see. That's pretty much it. I know you have a podcast as well.
No, I just do TV.
Okay. You just do financial contributorships and stuff like that?
Yeah, Bloomberg, CNBC, Fox, CNN, Yahoo Finance.
Oh yeah, no, used to do some of those myself.
Yeah, I bet.
You get to go on for a minute and a half and all that stuff, and it's great PR, especially if you're doing national news. Because the first time I did national news, it was on the debt ceiling, and it was on Fox News on the debt ceiling. It aired at 11 o'clock at night. but it actually showed 5 million times between 11 o'clock at night and 5 in the morning. And
Wow.
my PR person, he goes, that's like $3 million, man. I go,
Yeah,
okay.
we just got it from our PR, and she said 68 million in non-paid advertising value last year from the media. It's I mean, it's a phony number, but it's something, right? It's somewhere in around that or below half of that or a third of that, whatever it is.
Well, basically they calculate that, and she might have told you off what the sponsors actually paid for that time.
Time, yeah. So
Yeah,
it's not
so that's
real.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
I know you're only good until 11th, for 30 minutes, so let's go ahead and get started.
Okay.
Your portion will probably, I'll probably have you done in 20 minutes tops, okay?
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right, so, all right. Cameron, this is Steve Sexton. We're at episode 164 with, it's Nancy Tengler, right?
Mhm.
So I just like to say that up front. So we're going to go ahead and get started. And we go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, welcome to the Saving with Steve show, where we talk about the ins and outs of money. Pretty much everything under the sun that relates to you having a happier, healthy relationship with money. Hey, I want to thank you for joining us today. I hope you all had a wonderful, happy New Year's. It's been a great New Year's for us. We just hit the 900,000 listener mark, so we're very, very happy with that. So you know what? Let's start off the new year right. We've got the perfect guest. We have Nancy Tengler. She's the author of Women's Guide to Successful Investing. And we're going to be talking to Nancy about empowering women to take control of their financial future. She'll be talking about things like the 12 rules for female investing, money advice for 20-somethings just starting their career. Hey, if you're 10 years from retirement, hey, you want to listen here, and we got a whole lot more. So with that, let me tell you a little bit about Nancy. Nancy Tengler's career, she's been a portfolio manager for over 40 years. She's currently the CEO and Chief Investment Officer of Laffer Tengler Investments. Nancy, she's so passionate about and an advocate for women's financial literacy. She leads the firm's Women in Wealth initiative. Nancy's actually a sought-after TV print financial commentator, as well as the local national media outlets. They all like Nancy because she knows what to talk about. More importantly, she knows how to talk, but more importantly, she has a wonderful voice. So Nancy, welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me, Steve. It's a real honor.
Actually, it's more of an honor for our guests because they've been asking for somebody just like you, and I think you fit the bill. Now, let's just get started with the 12 rules for female investors. I think that's a really great place to start. So I'm going to let you go ahead and just knock them down.
Okay. Well, so it's so interesting because women identify as savers. They self-identify as good savers, but they think investing is gambling or magic or sport. And so what I'm trying to do is demystify all of the language and those notions for women, because the research shows, present company excluded, that we make better investors than men. And there used to only, when I wrote the first edition, there was only one study, but now there's multiple. And I mean, obviously, look, some of the greatest investors are men, but one of the things that we do is we spend a lot of time doing research. We're willing to change our minds, and we're unfocused on beating some arbitrary benchmark. So the first rule I talk about with women, because they're risk averse, is that the biggest risk to women's portfolios is that they often do not take enough risk. And that can't be underscored enough, because taking risk is how you make money. I mean, you take risk when you get in your car, you take risk when you get on a plane, you take risk when you buy a house, but somehow it feels scarier when you're buying stocks because you can look at the price movement every second. And so one of the things I counsel women is to take a long-term approach, but to definitely take risk.
That's wonderful. I actually understand that from my wife's perspective. And she's always worried about what happens this. And, the problem with the news is every time you see something bad about stocks, it's usually because something went down or somebody did this or somebody did that, or, the whole shot. So it just perpetuates that. So I understand that. So what's next?
Well, one of the other things that I think is super important, it's actually one of the last rules. It's intelligent investing rule number 10. High investment management fees are enemy number one for women. seeking to accumulate wealth, remember fees are the single biggest threat to your portfolio. Why is that? Because they compound over time. And so a lot of people will tell me that they have a financial advisor and he's only charging them X. But what they don't understand is that they're also paying fees on the funds or the mutual funds or the ETFs that they're being put into. And sometimes the advisor is getting a portion of that fee. It's not a kickback, it's a payback to them for putting clients in that fund. So you can look at your portfolio and think you're only paying 1.25%, and you could really be paying closer to 2%. That margin, that differential in fees is a detraction from total return. I call it the biggest eroder of total return. I don't even think that's a word, but I think everybody knows what I mean. And so I really caution women to ask that question and not to be shy about it, because advisors don't talk about it.
I also encourage them to have somebody show them. I think that's wonderful because so many people, whether they're female or male, they just don't realize what they're actually paying.
Right.
And we see this, you know about variable annuities and the underlying 12b1 fees and all that kind of stuff. So some people think I've got this great thing, but they don't realize they're paying 2, 3, 4%, and it's nuts.
And they
So
think you're paying nothing.
yeah, yeah,
Right.
they're very shocked. And what's
Yeah.
next? That's outstanding.
So I think one of the things that people need to learn in the market, and by the way, you're absolutely right. These rules are not just for women. I have a lot of men that read the book. So the first edition, the cover was pink, and we made this one blue, so everyone can enjoy it. Intelligent investing rule number 6, and actually 5 and 6 I think are critical, but 6 is the stock market is a tug of war between fear and greed. Buying from fearful sellers and selling to greedy buyers is optimal, but the savvy women will require more than just good instincts to do so. You have to develop a discipline, employ the valuation tools we discuss in the book, and do your research. So I give a lot of case study examples of stocks that I bought early, or stocks that I bought and went down, and then what's happened since then, or case studies on individual securities we looked at in the first edition. One of the early examples I give in the book is Starbucks, which I bought in April of 2007. And, even though I wrote the book, I don't really remember all the fine points, but I actually bought it in April of 2007. Howard Schultz came back to the firm. Sorry. And it went up immediately. And that's always risky because you think you're super smart. But then we had the great financial crisis, and the stock went from 30 where I bought it up to 40 and down to something like $6 a share, $7 a share. And the best thing would have been if I would have bought more, but because you remember that everybody's portfolios were melting, I just threw my statements in a drawer because I didn't want to do the wrong thing. Good news is I didn't sell it, and I'm up 14% annually since that time, even after the stock went down dramatically, and I didn't buy more. I'm up 14% annually, and the S&P's up 8.5%. And that was through the end of last year. So I'm sorry, 2022, because I wrote the book in early 2023. So if you're buying great companies, and I call them stocks you can own for a lifetime, you need to have the courage and the conviction to be able to add to those names when the market goes off the rails a little bit.
I actually agree with that. Actually, when the market does go off the rails a little bit, it's also a great buying opportunity. There's nothing like getting something for a discount.
Yep.
Think about it. Something that was 40, you're getting for 8, it's less than almost 80% off.
Right.
That's great.
It is great if it's a great company. And that's one of the things that we talk about in the book. How do you identify a great company? I talk about Microsoft, which I actually bought. My first position was in 2003, but then I added to it significantly after they added a dividend. And, that stock in my portfolio has up 1,570%, or 15.3% per year. Now, you do need time to go by, but you also just need patience. And that's why I advise, women, and they're pretty good at this. Don't look at it every day. Do your research, stand by the conviction unless something significantly changes at the company.
That's wonderful advice. What's next?
Rule number 5. Rule number 4, I think is super important. Don't run with the fast crowd. Establish a discipline. It's all about discipline that meets your objectives, never chase total return, and never, never, never buy a stock in a company you do not understand or does not meet your risk and investing objectives. And I think that's probably the worst thing about the financial news media is you have people on there that are advocating stocks, and they're not thinking about what your personal risk profile is or what your needs are from a diversification standpoint. So I think you can get great ideas from the financial news media, but then you have to do your own research. And I give a series of examples when I didn't do that and what it cost me. I have a chapter on the big mistakes and what to learn from them and think, so that's important. I do think at the end of that chapter, people say, well, why am I listening to her? But I've already made all the mistakes for you. So just listen to what I'm telling you because I've done it personally.
Well, that's very true. And you know what? There's been studies done on people like Jim Cramer. Hey, you know when to buy, buy, but you know when to sell. And the next thing you know, hey, you've lost money, money, money.
Right.
Or you hear about Wall Street talking about how the Fed's going to be doing this and this, and they're going to be lowering interest rates. And they're talking about things that are counterintuitive to what the Fed actually does. So how does that help you?
Yeah.
And I understand that media piece. It's just, making decisions on what the media says doesn't really work. So I agree with that. So, hey, you know what? We're going to have to take a break real quick. Everybody stick with us. We'll be right back with more Nancy Tengler. Oh, that was perfect. Cameron, that was just finished segment number 1. Um, let's see. Is there a place, Nancy, is there a place we can go that I could direct people to go to get your 12 tips? Or just that's just in the book?
It is at the moment, it's just in the book, but when our website goes up for WOW, it will be in there on
Okay.
Women of Wealth Initiative. Yeah, I think that
Okay.
at this
Okay,
point.
because I'd like to get to the last 3 things, which are the 20-something was big, what to do if you got 10 years to go before retirement, and how 95% of women are set to become the primary financial decision makers. I think those are the big topics that I want to say our clients, but our listeners would like.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
okay. So let's see. And let's see, Cameron, we're going to be moving into segment 2 with Nancy Tengler. So here we go. Hello, welcome back to the Saving with Steve show, where we talk about the ins and outs of money. I want to thank you all for joining us. All the replays are available at savingwithsteve.us. If you're enjoying the stories of helpful information, insights on Saving with Steve, I encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Never miss a show. Check out our affiliates at UK Health Radio, BBS Radio, Talk Radio New York City, E360 TV, Las Vegas TV Network. All those networks are dedicated to empowering you to solve problems, uplift your spirit, and live a life of personal and financial freedom. Now, let's get back to Nancy. I know I read that really, really fast. Sorry, guys, but I want to get back to Nancy here. We've been talking about the 12 rules for female investing. Now we're going to be moving on to some advice for young girls that are in their 20s that are just starting their career. Nancy, what's the best advice for somebody who's just starting their career?
Yeah, I talk about that in the book because I spent a lot at that age. You don't think you have enough money to invest, but indeed, currently you can open a brokerage account with $0. You can buy fractional shares in a stock. So if you like Chipotle, but you don't like or the price close to $1,500, $2,000, I don't even remember anymore, you can buy 1/100th of a share, and that actually is a way to really build wealth over time. I think one of the things that I learned when I was writing the first edition is that the average age of a divorce for a woman in the United States is age 30. So you don't get married and think, oh, I'm going to get divorced in 10 years, but you should be engaging in and participating in, whether you're single or married, in the process of managing the family wealth or at the very least your own wealth. You contribute to your 401k because you usually get a match and that's free money. And you really just focus on if you don't have enough money to buy stocks, I have a chapter on how to buy exchange traded funds and what you should be thinking about, because those, at least unlike mutual funds, tend to have very low levels of fees. We launched our own. It has a little bit of a higher fee because it's actively managed, but it's TGLR. It's a portfolio of actively managed dividend growth stocks. And one of the things that I didn't read I'm just going to say this quickly, Steve, on the intelligent rules was I threw one in for for good measure, and it is, so that's number 13, I guess. Buy stocks like you buy toilet paper, focus on price and yield. And I think if women think about that, the compounding of the dividend, just like fees compound, dividends that grow and are paid every quarter compound and contribute materially to total return. Some research reports show 50% contribution from dividends. It just depends on the period measured. So you really want to think about that when you're buying stocks.
That's a great analogy to look at, just like you're buying toilet paper. And so how many sheets do you get for how much you pay? That's so cool. And you know what? I think that's a really important statement, because the reality is, if you're saving for retirement, and I can make it a sport because I'm a guy, but it's an accumulation game.
Mhm. It's
How
a
much can you
marathon.
accumulate over time? And if the market goes down, buy more, because it'll be larger down the road. So that's that's a wonderful. Okay, so here's the biggie. 55, 10 years to go before I retired. Hey, what advice do you have there?
So I often get that question, am I too old to start investing? And so I have a case study of a woman named Stephanie Muka who didn't start investing until she was on a fixed income. She had a modest investment early days with her husband, and then he died and she retired, and she died with $5.5 million. Now, she did live to be 100, so we aren't all going to do that, but it is never too late. And I cite a study in the book that looks at 3 strategists, and you'll probably know who all these people are, but Malkiel, Bogle, and Quinn, and that's Jane Bryant Quinn. And they each set like allocations, 40 years from retirement, 30, 10, and then less than 10 years. And I think what people think is that when they retire, that's the end of the game. But I always describe it, retirement as 20 years of unemployment. So you still want to be taking risk. The best performing portfolio was Jane Bryant Quinn's, and she had 80% allocation with less than 10 years to go to retirement. Now, I should be retired, and I have 95% of my portfolio in equities. Not everyone has my risk tolerance, but I really encourage people to think about, not, that's why I don't like target date funds. The day you retire is not the day you're going to need all the money. You're going to need it later. And so you want it to continue to grow into retirement.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay, now the next topic is a big one. 95% of women are set to become primary financial decision makers. Let's help everybody understand that. And what are the key insights you can offer to empower women, with essential financial knowledge and things like that? What do they really need to know? Because that's really important.
Yeah. And so the average age of a widow in the United States is 59 and a half. I was 59 when my husband passed away. And I'm going to tell you that is not a good time to be learning how to invest money. The money spouse, which is usually the husband, unfortunately, and that doesn't seem to be changing. Millennials are not engaging even as much as baby boomer women did. It's not a good time to establish a relationship with your financial advisor. So 2/3 of women end up firing their financial advisor within the first year. It's expensive, it's disruptive, it leads to sometimes multiple financial advisors in the future. So what I really encourage women to engage in the process well before they need to understand it. But if they don't, then that is the reason I wrote the book. And I hear from women all the time that just knowing the terminology made their financial advisors respect them more. I have a quick anecdote. I left the business when my kids were in middle school and high school, and I went back to graduate school, but I was home and I didn't want to have to manage the money. So my husband and I interviewed advisors. I was the CIO of one of the largest investment management firms in San Francisco. I knew everyone in town and every one of the people that we interviewed with. And through the entire interview, they would say, so what, Doug, tell me, what's your risk profile? And he'd say, I don't know. What do you think it is, Nancy? And we did this the whole meeting. And they knew me as a colleague and a professional. Women tend to excuse themselves from the conversation, but they're also excused from the table often by the people they're working with. So I would encourage them to ask questions. It's your money, and you have every right to know everything your advisor's doing. We talk to our clients, for example, before we do stuff, not because we need their approval, but because we want them to know what we're doing, and we want to make sure their objectives are still the same. So you have to find an advisor with whom you can work and trust. And that, if I tell women anything, that is the single most important thing. If you're not going to do it yourself, find someone who respects you and is going to treat you with, the service level you deserve.
Oh, I totally agree with that. It's interesting. My mom's 87, It wasn't until my dad was 84 and had his first surgery and only surgery of his life that she says, "Oh my God, I need to learn this stuff."
Yeah.
And it took us 3 years for her to go, okay, so this is why we're doing this. So it's really very interesting. Don't wait until your spouse has health issues. You know what? If you're in your 40s or 50s, please, the better educated you are, the more confident you are, the less ability for somebody to take advantage of you is. The whole shot. I just totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Now, if there's a final thought of the day for empowering women, what would it be, Nancy?
That we have the skill set. So if you think about it, women tend to do most of the purchases and the research for the purchases in their home. We have the skill set and to look at companies, and there's so much. I have a whole chapter on free websites where you can go and get data. I used to spend millions of dollars on a year as an institutional investor. So I would encourage, I guess my final thought is we have the skill set. The research shows we make great investors, and we should begin, even if you have a financial advisor, you should have your own account that you're buying securities in. I encourage my clients to do that. Makes them better clients, makes me a better investment manager. So that would be my final thought. It's not beyond your grasp. The great Peter Lynch said, if you've had fifth grade math, you can do this, and buy
Yeah.
what you know.
And if you don't understand it, don't do it.
Right.
That's a biggie. Nancy, I want to thank you for joining us today. Hey, how can people get in contact with you, your firm, get financial advice from you? What would be the best way? And please talk about your Women's Wealth Initiative.
Oh, thank you, Steve. Yeah, so we are launching the Women of Wealth Initiative, which will probably have a small subscription fee just so we can disseminate information. But we're not doing this. It's a not-for-profit. We're not doing it to make money. I want women to have access to free videos, free commentary that we have for women. The website I don't think is up yet, but you can go to our website, which is Laffer, Laffer, Tengler, Tengler.com. And we have a button there. If you feel like buying the book, you can, there's another button that'll take you to our ETF website, but there's also an ability to make appointments. And please do reach out. I mean, I may not be able to be available for everyone, but I wrote this book in a snowstorm. I was snowed in Lake Tahoe, the second edition, which is much harder to write than the first edition, not because you make money writing a book, but because I want women to have the tools. I've been there. It's, hopefully you won't be one of the statistics, but it's not a good time to be learning investing. You got enough other things to be dealing with if your spouse does pass away.
Oh, no, I actually encourage this. What people don't know about me is I am a cancer survivor, but I had a tumor that clogged up my colon and I went to an emergency surgery. And if I'd gotten 4 hours later, I wouldn't be here right now. So it's one of those
Wow.
things where my wife could be in a position that each and every person that's listening could have been. So I very much encourage the education. The more education you get, the more confident you are, the better decisions you are, and life just gets a lot easier. Nobody has a monkey on their back worrying about it. Nancy, thank you so much for joining us today. This was just wonderful. By the way, we will have on our website a link to get Nancy's book, a link to connect with Laffer and Tengler. And again, hope you all have a wonderful New Year. Nancy, thanks again for joining us.
Thank you so
Okay.
much for having me, Stephen, for what you're doing for women, and congrats on being a cancer survivor.
I appreciate that. You have fun. Hold on one second. And Nancy, that was wonderful. I love
Thank
your
you.
energy. You've done this 100 times before. So um, uh, I've been doing what you've been doing for like 10 years, but maybe not on a complete scale that you're doing every single day right now.
Well,
But
congrats on 900,000 viewers. That's amazing.
it's really weird because my viewership is 86% female. My PR person, who's a lady, goes, I still can't believe it. I go, yeah, I know. I got a face for radio. So what's this all about?
Me too. That's how I describe it too. I'd much rather do radio.
Oh, you know what, we have some wonderful guests too. So that's part of it. So we're very lucky to have you. And again, thank you. I wish
Thank
you
you.
all the success. And with that, all you have to do is click off. I'm going to do my little piece and close out the show.
All
You have
right,
a great
Steve.
day. Bye,
Thank
Nancy.
you. Bye-bye.
Let's see. Perfect. Okay. Hey, welcome back to the Saving with Steve show. Wasn't Nancy Tengler wonderful? Wonderful advice to help empower women for their financial futures, to take control of that. I think that's great. Now, what I'd like to talk to you, because we're right after the new year. Hey, that holiday debt hanger, how do we make it go away? Well, first of all, many people out there, even if they had a plan, they put too much on the credit card, and in another week and a half, we're going to see that bill come due. Oh my gosh, what do we do? How do we reduce our debt? How do we deal with this debt hangover? Okay, number one, let's start by listing all of your bills. Okay, very straightforward. I'm going to talk to you about avalanche and the snowball method for dealing and reducing your debt. One, you want to get your list of all your credit cards. I don't care if it's your mortgage, your car payment, and your credit cards. I want you to list it by largest balance to the smallest balance. I want you to list the payment date, the minimum payment, and then you want to look at it and say, okay, if I'm going to take the snowball method, okay, I'm going to pay off the smallest one first. And how am I going to do that? What you're going to do is you're going to pay a minimum payment on all the other credit cards and the debt that you owe, and pay as much as you can on the smallest one. Once that smallest one is paid off, then you take the amount that you're paying on the smallest one and add it to the minimum payment of the next one, and keep paying that one until it gets paid off. And then you're going to take what you're paying there and add it to the next one. You can see that's called the snowball method. Or if you want to take the avalanche method typically goes with the one that has the highest interest rate or the highest balance. If you've got a home or car, that might not be the one you want to take on, but if it's a credit card, go with the one with the highest balance. Pay as much as you can as well as the minimum. And once that gets paid off, move on to the next one and you avalanche it on down and it gets taken care of. Folks, how are you going to find the extra money? Two ways. One, you could take a look at what you're spending currently. Look at how, for example, if you got cable TV and you're paying for 15 streaming sites, cut it down to 2 or 3, save yourself a bunch of money. If you're still paying for cable and you're paying $300 a month, look at getting internet, okay, internet services, plus a live TV. You can get AT&T Live, Hulu Live. You can get all your live channels, and you also have Hulu, and then you can add a couple streaming channels. We did that, saves us $100 a month. We looked at our cell phone provider. Hey, you have that contract. There are Mint Mobile and many others that have a lower cost than going with the big four when it comes to cell phone bills. Hey, we saved another $50 a month that way. When we started looking at shopping, we bought the actual vegetables as opposed to packaged vegetables or packaged salads, made our own stuff. And then we looked at, as opposed to buying canned or prepared stuff, we used natural meats, so on and so forth. We were able to save another $150 off our bill. Okay. People will take on extra gigs like Uber, Lyft. They will take on, I have one client that is now working as a tutor for foreign students, making $40 an hour. So when he's working 20 hours a week, he makes $800 a week as a tutor, and that $800 goes towards paying down his debt. You could do many things to reduce and eliminate that debt quickly. The key here to remember is this: earning an interest on your money is better than paying an interest on your money. The quicker you can get to the point where you're earning interest on your money, the better off you will be, because then you could take that extra money and start putting it towards your retirement, putting it towards your house, putting it towards making your life better, easier down the road. So I want to thank you all for joining us today on Saving with Steve. Was it Nancy Tengler? Just wonderful. Again, you're going to have information on our website to go to their website to be able to get her book. And I want to thank you all for joining us today. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful new year here in 2024. Look forward to talking to you next week on Saving with Steve. Bye-bye.